My unforgettable journey through Pompeii led to a shocking discovery of love and sacrifice. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows over the ruins. I was standing in the midst of history, lost among the crumbling remains of a city frozen in time. The air felt thick, heavy with whispers of the past. Each step echoed off the cracked stones, a heartbeat beneath my trembling feet. I had come to explore, to wander through the ancient streets where tragedy had etched itself into every corner. The haunting beauty of Pompeii drew me in. I could almost hear the laughter, the chaos, the life that thrived before the volcano roared to life. I was curious, seeking secrets hidden among the ashes. But what I found was more than I bargained for. As I wandered deeper, a shiver raced down my spine. The silence wrapped around me like a vice. I stumbled upon a mosaic, its colors vivid and striking, depicting a couple entwined in a heart-shaped embrace. My heart raced. The surreal beauty struck me hard, igniting a flame of wonder, but also an urgency that left me breathless. What had happened to them? Their smiles seemed to beckon, begging for someone to uncover their story. That was when I noticed something strange. A small pendant lay half buried beneath a pile of soot and dirt nearby. It glinted in the fading light, pulling me closer. The moment I picked it up, a shockwave coursed through me. A jolt of energy unlike anything I had ever felt before. I could almost hear the echoes of laughter mingled with cries of despair. Lost in that moment, reality slipped away. I felt as if I could step right into their world, see the sparkle in their eyes, and the love they shared. But then came a sound. A breathless gasp from behind a crumbling wall. My heart stopped. Was I truly alone? I turned, my body trembling, eyes wide. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in mystery. Their gaze pierced through me, revealing a depth of sorrow and longing that mirrored my own. It was strange, almost unsettling. Who were they? And why did they seem so familiar? The walls of history pressed around us as we stood frozen, on the precipice of a revelation that hung in the air like the dust of the past settling over our futures. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure stepped forward, and as the dim light fell upon them, I realized this was no mere illusion. A young woman, perhaps in her early 20s, stood before me. Her hair fell like a cascade of dark waves, framing a face that held the weight of untold stories. I was taken aback not just by her beauty, but by the profound sense of familiarity that washed over me. It was as if I had known her in another life. Who are you? I managed to whisper, my voice quaking in the charged air. The woman hesitated, eyes searching mine with a mixture of fear and hope. I'm not sure how to explain, she replied, her voice soft and melodic but burdened. I feel like I've been lost for so long, wandering these ruins, waiting for something or someone. Her words struck a chord deep within me, awakening a sense of connection I couldn't fully comprehend. Waiting for what? I pressed, stepping closer, driven by a need to bridge the gap between our souls. The truth. She took a breath, the vulnerability in her eyes piercing through the shadows that clung to us both. This place, it's not just history. It's a memory, a story that needs to be told. My name is Livia, and I. She faltered, looking down at the ground strewn with ashes. I lost everything here. The air grew heavier with her unspoken grief. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but instead, I felt trapped in my own curiosity, a longing to understand. What happened to you? I asked, feeling the world around us shrink as we were pulled into a different time, a different reality. A glimmer of pain flickered across Livia's face as she began to speak. I was in love, you see. His name was Marcus, and we were to be married. We dreamed of a life together, away from the fears that haunted us. But then, the volcano, it erupted, and everything was taken from us in an instant. As Livia spoke, her sadness poured into me, intertwining with my own heartache. I felt the weight of her loss, the intensity of a love that had once filled Pompeii with warmth now reduced to a haunting silence. And you think that love is still? I trailed off, unable to finish the thought, fearing the answer. Yes, she breathed, tears welling in her eyes. I need to discover what happened to Marcus, to find out if he survived. I've been searching for answers within these walls, but I can't face it alone. A rush of empathy surged through me, igniting a flicker of hope amid the overwhelming sorrow. I'll help you, I blurted out before I could second-guess myself. We can uncover your story together. Livia's eyes widened, a glimmer of hope mingling with disbelief. You would do that? For someone like me? Yes, I insisted, my voice gaining strength. You matter, and your story deserves to be told. Let us not let the ashes swallow the truth. In that moment, a fragile alliance formed between us. Together, we were bound by grief, loss, and an undeniable spark of hope. As twilight descended upon Pompeii, shadows danced across the remnants of a once vibrant town. The echoes of laughter felt closer now, almost tangible. We moved cautiously deeper into the ruins under a canopy of stars, guided by our intertwined fates, but just as we ventured toward the heart of the city, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath us, sending loose stones crashing around us. I fell to my knees, instinctively grabbing Livia's hand for support. The world around us was shifting, and for a moment, I couldn't tell if it was the remnants of history awakening or something more foreboding. When the shaking ceased, silence enveloped us once again, but it was broken by a voice deep, commanding echoing through the ancient streets. The past is not finished with you yet. Livia gasped, gripping my arm tightly as the lingering shadows seemed to twist with life. I shared her panic and confusion. We were not just uncovering history, but inviting it to unravel in ways we never expected. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. We had awakened something old and powerful within these ruins. Whatever lay ahead held the potential for revelations, but also risks we could scarcely comprehend. As we stood in the fading light, our hearts pounding in a synchrony of both fear and anticipation, I looked into Livia's eyes and felt a fierce determination grow. We were about to embark on a journey where the lines of love, sacrifice, and survival would blur, dragging us deeper into the legends of Pompeii. But as we turned to search the ruins for answers, a figure loomed behind us, cloaked and shadowy. The air grew thick with an electric tension, and as I looked back into the darkness, dread washed over me. What if the ghosts of the past wanted more than just to be remembered? It was just the beginning of our descent into an irrefutable truth that might change everything we knew about love, loss, and the courage it takes to face both. The shadows settled around us like an oppressive shroud as I strained to peer into the darkness where the figure loomed. The air crackled with an unsettling energy, thick with tension as Livia and I instinctively drew closer together. Her hand clutched mine, a lifeline amid the uncertainty, and I willed myself to remain steady, to protect her from whatever was about to emerge from the depths. "Who is there?" I called, my voice firmer than I felt. The silence hung, stretching taut around us, and then, without warning, the figure stepped into the dull light from the nearby ruins. An elderly man, his face lined with deep furrows, emerged from the gloom. His eyes, sharp and weary, scanned us both as if measuring the weight of our souls. "You shouldn't be here," he spoke, his voice gravelly, echoing with the wisdom of ages long past. "The ruins aren't just stone, they hold more than mere memories. They guard secrets that could tear asunder what you both seek." "Secrets?" Livia repeated, her voice breaking slightly as a new wave of fear washed over her. "We're searching for answers about Marcus. We need to know what happened to him." The old man's expression softened, his stance momentarily less rigid. Then you seek the truth of love intertwined with loss, something that echoes through time. But be warned, young one, some truths are best left buried. There was a gravity in his words that sent chills down my spine. Why do you warn us? What do you know? I pressed, feeling a sudden surge of urgency. If you know something about Marcus, please tell us. He hesitated, his gaze shifting to the crumbling stone walls around us. There are guardians of the past, spirits entwined with this earth, tied to their fates. To find one, you must be prepared to uncover all, both the beautiful and the terrible. The heart of your journey is fraught with peril, and only those who dare to face the shadows shall find their light. What does that mean? Livia asked, her voice trembling. The longing in her eyes was undiminished, and I could see the flicker of hope battling against the weight of fear. Follow the eclipsed path, where the stars align with sorrow's embrace, he said cryptically, gesturing into the ruins. You may discover much about Marcus, but it comes at a cost far greater than you can fathom. Before we could respond, the figure turned and melted back into the shadows, leaving behind an unsettling silence punctured only by the distant echo of falling stones. I felt Livia's hand tighten around mine, fear now palpable in her grip. What do we do? She whispered, looking at me as though I were meant to have answers. In that moment, the gravity of our task settled heavily upon us, as both the excitement of newfound purpose and the trepidation of the unknown intertwined within me. Maybe we should follow what he said, I suggested hesitantly, even as doubts swirled through my mind. He might have been trying to guide us. Livia nodded, yet I could sense her hesitation through the way her fingers shook in mine. Do you think Marcus could still be alive? She asked, hope lacing her voice, but I could hear the cracks of uncertainty beneath it. I don't know, I replied honestly, wishing I could offer her a better answer. But I want to help you find out. We'll figure it out together. With tentative resolve, we moved forward, deeper into the remains of Pompeii, tracing a path that seemed to shift beneath our feet, the ghosts of the past casting long, haunting shadows around us. The shapes of ancient architecture loomed unexpectedly, suddenly beautiful yet foreboding, whispering the secrets they had witnessed over countless years. As we ventured further, the air shimmered, and I caught glimpses of familiar scenes flickering across the ruins, a bustling marketplace, couples laughing, children playing. Each vision brought with it a pang of nostalgia and sorrow, heightened by Livia's presence beside me. Was this merely my imagination, or was the past leaking through the seams of time, reflecting Livia's lost world back at us, then, as we reached what remained of an epicenter that once pulsed with life, the ground began to tremble again, stronger this time, sending vibrations that rattled our bones. Livia stumbled, and I reached to steady her, panic clawing at me. Are you okay? I asked, half holding her up, half preparing to flee, but her wide eyes locked onto something beyond me, and she gasped. There, look. I turned to follow her gaze, my breath hitching in my throat as I caught sight of a faint, shimmering outline materializing against the backdrop of the ruins. It was a familiar profile, a face I had seen only in fleeting moments at the edges of my dreams, ghostly yet distinct. Marcus? Livia whispered, awe and fear mingling in her trembling voice. The figure turned, revealing a hauntingly familiar gaze, echoes of a memory long buried in the ashes. The world erupted with sensations, the merging of time and consequence spiraling around us. Livia, he called softly, though it echoed like a song through a canyon of grief, but as I reached out to hers, the tremors shook the ground more violently, and I realized too late the figures were not the only thing the past had awakened. The ancient walls began to quiver ominously, and a crack formed beneath our feet. Get back! I shouted, grasping Livia's arm as we staggered backward, but it was too late. The ground split, and the vision of Marcus dissolved into darkness, leaving us teetering on the brink of an unfathomable abyss beneath Pompeii. The tremors roared around us, drowning out my heart's frantic pulse, and as the earth groaned, I knew our quest for the truth had awakened forces greater than we had ever anticipated, binding us further into the legacy of love, loss, and sacrifice that we could not yet fully grasp. The journey ahead was destined to be more harrowing than I had imagined, and our souls were at risk of being ensnared within the very ruins we sought to understand. And then, just before the ground gave way, as if in mockery of our resolve, a chilling voice whispered from the darkness, "You have chosen your path, but only fate shall reveal its cost." The darkness enveloped us like a heavy cloak, the air thick with dust and foreboding whispers. As the earth beneath us shuddered violently, I pulled Livia back, our hearts pounding in unison, both fueled by fear and an unyielding determination. The last vestiges of Marcus's apparition had not just ignited hope, they had entangled us deeper in a woven destiny we had yet to comprehend. "What do we do?" Livia's voice trembled, a raw mixture of desperation and disbelief. "We need to find another way, we can't stay here," I replied, adrenaline pushing me beyond fear. I could feel her trembling hand in mine, the warmth grounding me as fleeting visions of loss danced in the shadows around us, haunting yet clarifying that we stepped cautiously back from the fissure that threatened to take everything from us: our search, our purpose, even the essence of who we were. The ground heaved once more, and I instinctively led Livia towards a narrow passageway nestled between two ancient pillars, the type that had once stood proudly in the sun but now crumbled with time. "There." She pointed, her eyes wide, and I turned to see what had caught her attention: another faint glow emanating from within the passageway. "Stay close," I urged, pulling her along as we stepped into the narrow corridor, its walls adorned with faded frescoes, visions of life, death, and profound connections etched in the stone. As we moved deeper, the haunting whispers seemed to echo our every step, a chorus of forgotten souls intertwined in tales of unfulfilled love. In the heart of the passage, we found a small chamber illuminated by a flickering light. At its center was an old pedestal bearing a weathered book. My heart raced as I approached, an irrational hope swelling within me that perhaps this book contained answers or markers on our journey. I reached out to touch it, but just as my fingers brushed the cover, Livia's gasp pierced the silence. "Look!" She stood rigid, her eyes transfixed on a cryptic symbol engraved on the wall behind the pedestal: a crescent moon intertwined with a delicate vine, its edges trailed with thorns. There was something strikingly familiar about it, evoking memories I couldn't fully grasp. "Livia, do you know what that is?" I asked, my pulse thrumming. "That symbol, it's in my grandmother's journal," she murmured, confusion mingling with wonder. She spoke about it as a marker for lost memories, a symbol of love that transcends time. Before she could finish, the chamber trembled anew, dust cascading from the ceiling, and I instinctively shielded her. "We need to move," I encouraged, but as I pulled away to lead her back, Livia stumbled and fell, her hand straying to the ground as if bracing for a tremor. "No, wait!" she cried, dawning realization flickering in her eyes. "I need to understand. This symbolizes something deeper, it's a connection to the past." "Livia, we can't," I began, but something in her voice stopped me. There was a determination, no, a calling that drew her towards those thorns. "Marcus, he's connected to this. If there's a way, if he left something behind." Her resolve hardened, and against the ridged stone, she traced the contours of the symbol. A tense silence enveloped us, charged with possibility and dread until, suddenly, the air around us crackled, and the book leapt toward us as if called forth by her fervor. It landed with a soft thud beside her, the heavy leather cover creaking open as if exhaling decades of solitude. "Livia!" My voice echoed, urgency rising within me. "We need to go. This place is dangerous." But as I turned, already feeling the ground quaking in warning, my heart sank. The fissure had widened, revealing an abyss so dark it felt alive. Despair woven into the very fabric of the air seeped into me, almost drawing me towards it, and yet, despite the trepidation, Livia was no longer there. She had plunged into the book, poring over its pages, her fingers dancing over words etched in language both foreign and familiar. I could see the flicker of understanding illuminating her expression, yet beneath that light lay shadows of an inherent pain. "Livia, please!" I called out, my own fear finally breaking through. The world around us spun with chaos, and her face reflected a deep longing. "We have to leave now." But then it happened. Her eyes locked onto a passage, and her breath hitched in shock. "Oh my God, what's wrong?" I asked, my voice rising. You have to see this, she breathed, disbelief mingling with a surge of hope. It's about the souls of Pompeii and a ritual, a way to connect with them. This could be a path to Marcus. He could be reaching out to us through this. Torn, I glanced back at the growing fissure, the chaos beyond pulling at my very being. Livia, we don't know what we're dealing with. This could be dangerous. Maybe, but this could be our only chance, she insisted, a fierce light in her eyes. What if this connects us to him? What if it allows us to understand what happened? A glimmer of hope fractured the thick pain in my chest. But just as promptly, shadows uncoiled around us, swathed in menace, clouds of voices rising in a crescendo, echoing Livia's desperation, and at that moment, I felt another presence, chillingly familiar, brushing against my consciousness. Go! I shouted, adrenaline fueling every word. My heart raced as I jerked her arm, but she clung fiercely to the book. David, please, I need him back. He needs to be found. Her voice trembled through me, a plea that was both an echo of hope and the gut-wrenching potential of loss. An urgency surged within my gut, an instinct that this journey was leading to something beyond comprehension, but just then, the dark abyss surged forward, swallowing the chamber in shadows, and as the fissure opened wider, I knew that the past would not allow us to hold on to mere reflections. We were meant to tread the precipice between now and forever, and I was uncertain if either of us would emerge unchanged or if we would emerge at all. In that final breath, Livia's grip remained steadfast on the book, but my heart pounded fiercely against the shadows pulling me toward the abyss, the weight of all that was unfolding threatening to snuff out the last vestiges of hope I had fought for, and then, a chilling whisper brushed across my skin, breaking through the cacophony, choices must be made, only one shall thrive. The words lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of impending consequence as the ground buckled beneath us, and I realized then, in the profound depths of uncertainty, that love wasn't merely a journey to uncover hearts, it was a dance with fate, and it demanded a sacrifice I was not yet ready to pay. As the shadows danced around us, cloaked in chaos, I felt the floor tremble beneath me, each rumble a warning, each flicker of the dim light a sign of encroaching danger. Livia, her eyes ablaze with a fierce intensity, remained transfixed by the pages of the ancient book, seemingly untouched by the terror unraveling outside. I inhaled sharply, the air heavy with dust and the bitter taste of impending loss. Livia! I urged again, desperation lacing my tone. We need to go, now. No. She responded resolutely, her voice cutting through the disarray. This could be Marcus. It could be the key to understanding what happened to him. I stood torn, my heart a battlefield of conflicting emotions. In this moment of ultimate crisis, I felt both fierce protectiveness for Livia and menacing panic for both of our fates. The fissure roared behind me, an echo of terror, but it was Livia's unwavering spirit that compelled me forward. What if you're wrong? We can't risk getting trapped here forever, not again. But her gaze remained locked on the pages, fingers trembling over the ancient ink as though they could draw Marcus back from the depths of time. You don't understand, David. This symbol, this ritual, it may allow us to communicate with him. I have to know. My heart sank as dread wrapped its icy fingers around me. The relentless reality was one we hadn't wanted to confront. The tapestry of our lives was woven not just from love, but sacrifice, and the looming question of how deep a sacrifice might be demanded tugged painfully at my conscience. Outside the chamber, the ground trembled violently, shards of stone cracking under the pressure. My instincts screamed for us to flee, but the depths of Livia's craving for closure, for understanding, pulled me away from reason. Livia, listen to me. I pleaded, my voice now a frantic whisper. The ground is shifting. Please. But her eyes shone with determination, and I felt my own resolve wobble precariously. She had already lost so much, could I bear to drag her away from a flickering chance at connecting with Marcus? Livia, if you choose to stay, I can't let you do that alone. In that beat of silence, she turned her gaze toward me, the determination simmering and raw. I can't do this without you, David. Will you help me? Please. For a heartbeat, the world poised at the edge of realization, my soul recognized the depths of her yearning. And somewhere deep inside, I understood that my own threads were intertwined with hers. With a trembling resolve, I nodded, albeit reluctantly, my heart's protest muted by a deeper whisper of hope. Okay, but we have to be careful. We don't know what we might awaken. A flicker of gratitude illuminated her face before she returned her focus to the text. I leaned in beside her, the weight of time compressing on my chest as I scanned the faded words. As she pointed to an incantation that echoed through the chamber, I choked on the fear of both what we might find and what we might release. The words spilled from her lips, and with each repetition, the air thickened, charged with a pulsating energy that resonated deep within me. I felt a warmth beginning to spread outwards from the book, enveloping us both in a cocoon of glimmering light, and yet, I couldn't shake the foreboding sensation still shadowing us, an unseen presence that gripped my heart with unyielding fear. "Livia," I whispered, the ritual's rhythm growing louder, warping around us like a spell, weaving familiarity and dread. The energy rising became almost unbearable, a crescendo of emotions and objects forgotten in time mingling into one potent moment of revelation. And just when I thought I might lose my sense of self entirely in the whirlpool of sensations, a shadowed figure emerged, distantly familiar yet anxiety-inducing, someone I couldn't quite comprehend. "Marcus!" Livia gasped, stepping closer, her connection to him sparking undeniable, yet as I peered into the depth of the brilliance, it flickered on the edge of splendid light and debilitating darkness. And that heartbeat, the air shifted drastically, and a chilling laughter echoed through our cocoon, reverberating off the ancient walls. "So, you think you can play with time and love like it is a game?" The voice dripped with disdain, threading icy tendrils of dread through me. It felt visceral, as if Marcus's presence flickered with sentiment inside my very marrow, a complex web of longing and loss mingling with Livia's need to reach into the past. Yet the figure looming before us, the one from shadows, shifted into shape, revealing the face of despair and longing twisted in malevolence, malice entwined with longing. No, this isn't possible," I stammered, stepping backward in shock as the true nature of this manifestation slowly revealed itself, all deep-set emotion clashing against the truth. A piercing scream erupted from Livia, tearing my focus as she staggered back, the book slipping from her fingers, and the moment unfolded like a terrible accident, each second a lifetime caught in the grip of fate. As the fissure gaped wider, and the chaos crashed around us, it consumed our hopes and dreams, pulling Livia's voice into the void beyond. "David!" And in that heartbeat of terror, of turmoil and unexpected hope, the veil between love, sacrifice, and the past was about to shred, a revelation pending just beyond our reach, entirely entwined in the choices we were destined to make. The tremors danced violently beneath my feet as I came to a staggering halt, heart racing. The echo of Livia's scream cascaded around me, a haunting melody threading through the mayhem. The shadows swirled, growing thicker, and an overwhelming sense of urgency surged through me. I needed to find Livia. "Livia!" I shouted into the chaotic swirl, but the sound was consumed by the earthquake pulsing through the chamber. Panic eclipsed logic, and I stumbled backward, feeling the fissures in the earth mirror the fractures in my heart. Each hesitant breath filled my lungs with dust and despair, and just when I thought I'd lost her forever, a faint flicker of light broke through the shadows, illuminating a figure kneeling on the ground near the altar. It was Livia, cradling the ancient book to her chest, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. I rushed toward her, my heart bobbing like a boat in choppy waters. "Are you okay?" I knelt beside her, searching her face for any hint of damage. "I thought I lost you." Her gaze flicked to where the figure had been standing, and dread seeped into me like ice. "David," it spoke to me. It wasn't Marcus. It was something else. Something darker. We sat there, entwined in our shared terror, the world tilting around us as if we were at the edge of everything we had known. A chilling wind danced through the chamber, teasing the pages of the book, catching our attention again. The words twisted and turned, almost writhing, as if desperate to divulge a sinister secret. Livia's trembling fingers reached out, brushing the surface of the open pages. "We need to find out what it wanted," she whispered, her resolve crystallizing even as uncertainty hung thick in the air around us. "No," I insisted, shaking my head fervently. "We need to leave, Livia. Whatever that was, it isn't good." But she met my gaze with a fierce intensity, and I was taken aback by the turmoil reflected in her eyes, a tangled mix of fear and an unquenchable desire to unearth the truth behind her brother's fate. "I can't let it end here, David. What if this is the only chance we have?" I ached for her belief, for her tenacity, but it felt like stepping closer to the edge of a cliff, the abyss whispering sweetly of curiosities I was afraid to entertain. "But what if we destroy ourselves in the attempt? It's my fault that Marcus is lost. I owe him this." Her voice trembled, raw with emotion. "I have to understand. Please." The silent weight of her plea wrapped around my heart, squeezing tightly. I forged a path through my own anxieties, weighed by the memories of the sacrifices made, resilient love won and lost. I knew, in that desperate moment, that walking away meant abandoning her to this quest alone. Yet stepping closer risked drowning in the depths of her desire and my fear. "So, we'll uncover the truth together. But we must be careful, Livia. We can't let it control us." The words slipped from my lips, a silent promise forged in the fires of my own turmoil. Tears glistened in her eyes, but they weren't just of fear. Hope shimmered there, delicate and exquisite. She nodded slightly, and with new resolve, she reached for the book again, guiding her fingers over the intricate symbols. Together, we began to recite the incantation once more, our voices wavering yet intertwined, beating like a single, defiant heart. The air thickened around us again, oscillating with an almost sentient energy, pushing against the walls of the chamber and the shards of time, but this time, something shifted in the atmosphere, a palpable tension that made my skin crawl. A cacophony of whispers enveloped us, growing louder with each syllable we spoke, forcing me to grapple with a jarring realization: this wasn't just a ritual, it was a summons. Suddenly, the orb of light pulsated before us, expanding and contracting like a living thing. It shimmered with fractured memories, shadows of faces and places twisted, then distorted. Thoughts and emotions from the past swirled around us, intertwining with the resonance of the incantation as the chamber gazed into our souls, searching for truths untold. "David!" Livia gasped, her fingers tightening around mine. "Look!" I turned to see a figure coalescing from the shimmering light, not the figure I had feared before but a visage familiar yet unfathomable. A man just beyond the veil of memory, a fleeting glimpse of Marcus. "Help me," he whispered, and the sound slithered through me like a chill, urgent and piercing. "You must choose." A wave of confusion crashed over me, leaving me gasping for clarity. Choose what? The question hung before us, heavy with implications I couldn't fathom. Livia's grip tightened almost painfully as realization dawned on her. I think we have to donate something," she murmured, her voice barely a thread above the whispers that drowned out reason. "Something dear." Before I could respond, the shadows flickered ominously, threatening to devour us whole. The figures danced around us once more, the laughter mingling with the whispers, mocking and somber. My heart raced as I processed her words, the weight of everything cascading down upon us like a torrential storm. What could we sacrifice, and would it truly lead us to Marcus? I opened my mouth to express my fear, but the moment bore a weight too immense to verbalize. I felt pulled taut, stretched between loving Livia and the fraying edges of sanity, caught in the raging current of the unknown where our choices could tether us to darkness forever. Then, just as uncertainty threatened to unravel the very fabric of my being, a blinding light emerged, blurring the lines between reality and madness, pushing forth a whisper of hope glimmering just out of reach. And amidst the cacophony and the chaos, a soft voice from that light echoed through my mind: "The ultimate sacrifice is not just a choice, it's a commitment. Find me." With every flicker of brilliance, I felt my resolve swaying, tethering me to the depths of sacrifice I had never wanted to confront. The choice loomed larger than life. We were unraveling further into the past while spiraling toward an unknowable fate, standing at the precipice and peering into the abyss where love and sacrifice danced in the shadows of what was, what is, and what could never be reclaimed. And as I held on to Livia's trembling hand, the realization struck hard: each choice, each incantation, each flicker of light we navigated led us further from safety and deeper into the merciless heart of our intertwined fates. A shocking revelation loomed just ahead, hidden in the shadows of sacrifice, waiting to lead us down a path neither of us could foresee. The air around us pulsated with an energy I couldn't comprehend, and as Livia and I exchanged fearful glances, time felt like quicksand, sinking beneath our feet. The whispers rose, a tide of voices urging us to plunge deeper into the unknown. The face of Marcus flickered like a candle struggling against a gust, but his plea echoed around us, growing louder, robbing me of my steadiness. "David, we have to decide," Livia urged, her voice steadying with a sense of purpose that fought against the despair surrounding us. "He is here. We can bring him back." "Back from what, Livia? From where?" Every fiber in my being screamed against the prospect of letting go of anything precious, yet the weight of my fear collided with her unwavering belief. I felt impotent against her resolve, an anchor threatening to drown me in murky depths that we stood teetering on the edge of the abyss, and yet in the chaos, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. Perhaps, just perhaps, we could restore the lost pieces of our lives. But at what cost? I could already feel the stakes climbing, the tension coiling like a serpent within the chamber. What if we give up our memories? I proposed, the thought bursting like a poisonous blossom in the quiet before the storm. What if we had to forget him completely? Could we do that? Could you do that? Livia's eyes widened, caught between horror and resolve. "No," she whispered vehemently, drawing back as if I had tossed a dagger in her direction. "Those memories are all I have left of him. We can't lose what makes us who we are. There has to be another way." The crackling energy in the air seemed to congeal with her words, simmering like anticipation. Livia reached for the book again, and the symbols glowed brighter under her touch, as if sensing the pulse of her emotional plea. "I refuse to lose him, David. Not when he is right here," she said, gesturing toward the shimmering visage that I felt my heart tugging, caught between the gravitational pull of her desperation and my own fight for the both of us against whatever darkness loomed. But the shadow of Marcus's visage faded momentarily, robbed of energy. The choice was palpable in the stillness that enveloped us. What if love truly is a sacrifice? Livia pondered aloud, tears shimmering in her eyes, reflecting the essence of the fight within her heart. What if that is the binding force that can bring him back? The words hung in the air, heavy yet intoxicating. A bitter-tinged wind howled through the chamber, stealing my breath as I grappled with their meaning. Sacrifice demanded more than just memories. It demanded pieces of ourselves that were sewn into the fabric of our soul. As if sensing our turmoil, the shadows flared, growing more animated, swirling together, drawing me closer to the swirling mass of ambiguity. A guttural, echoing laugh resonated through the air, mocking me, mocking us. "You yearn to save what was lost, yet you do not comprehend the cost. Don't listen to it, Livia." My voice emerged stronger than I felt, galvanized by the need to protect her from the spellbinding act of naive ambition. Divulging who we are to the darkness will not bring Marcus back. It will only leave us bare exposed. And then something unexpected happened within the tumult. The orb of light began to pulse rhythmically, its glow casting an unexpectedly warm halo around us. Through the chaos, a figure cloaked in shadows began illuminating the corners of the chamber, walking towards us with a gentle grace that contradicted the turmoil surrounding it. "Do not fear," it murmured softly, an echo of kindness wrapped in shimmering energy. With every footfall, it dissipated the darkness, revealing radiance that slipped through the cracks of my despair. "What you choose to sacrifice will indeed change the course of your souls, yet it does not mean the loss is permanent." "Who are you?" I gasped, drawn towards the light that seemed so rich with compassion. "I am the keeper of memories, a guide between worlds," the figure replied. "The bond of love transcends even time. Each choice you make is a thread woven into the tapestry of existence. Then tell us how to bring him back," Livia urged, her voice breaking as she basked in the light's comfort. "We will do anything. Remember," it whispered, the air trembling with its words, "Sacrifices entwined in love need not destroy you. Rather, they grant freedom, enabling the journey of souls to cross realms." As the figure faded into the edges of my vision, Livia cried out, "Wait. What do we need to do? Please, tell us how." But silence fell upon us, and the remnants of hope felt heavy. I felt the weight of her gaze on me, filled with fear and desperation, the embodiment of conflict reflected in our entangled fates, and as the shadows swirled once more in a haunting dance, the whispered laughter returned, teasing at the fragile strands of promise that could bind us together. A cold dread gripped me, knowing that each decision could veer toward calamity, yet here was a chance, a flicker of a lifeline that might anchor my beloved Livia back to the brother she was desperately trying to save, but clarity faltered within uncertainty, as intangible as smoke. And as the air thickened with anticipation, I realized, the price for clarity would be steep. The choices lying ahead threatened to seal our fates, molding us in ways we might never return from, and just when the tension became unbearable, a disturbance rippled through the chamber like a ripple in reality itself, opening a new passage behind us, a way forward, yet draped in shadows and ambiguity. I turned, my heartbeat quickening at the sight, wondering if we were meant to step through and confront whatever lay within. With Livia's determination illuminating the path behind me, I held on to her hand, steeling myself for the unknown. The choices we made in the coming seconds would carve our destinies, whether to reveal our truths or face the worlds beyond, threaded with love and sacrifice. The chamber breathed around us, the choice echoing from the shadows. Which threads of memory would we unravel to weave a new fate? I felt the deepest chasm open beneath our feet, like a precipice draped in dark allure begging to be crossed. The passage loomed before us, dark and inviting, a threshold lined with promises and perils alike. Livia's grip tightened around my hand as we both teetered at the edge of what felt like a momentous decision. The palpable energy around us shifted, swirling more fiercely than before, spiraling towards the faint whispers that seemed to resonate with our inner turmoil. "David, what if we don't come back?" Livia's voice wavered, a mix of fear and resolve coating her words like a fragile glaze. As the shadows wove around us, they whispered sweetly, tugging at the tendrils of desire for closure, for understanding. "What if stepping through this is it?" I searched her eyes, tracing the storm of emotions there: hope, anxiety, perhaps a twinge of longing. "We can't think about that now," I replied, pushing aside the creeping sense of dread. "We have to move forward. For Marcus." With a deep, shuddering breath, she nodded, though uncertainty flickered behind her resolve. As we began to step through, the air thickened, the atmosphere wrapping around us like a comforting shroud but laced with tension. Each step felt weighted, as though ghosts from our past were entwined in the fabric of the path we ventured upon. The shadows receded slightly as we crossed the threshold, revealing a world that felt both alien and familiar. It pulsated with echoes of life, resonant with whispers that seemed to flow like liquid through the air. Light flickered at the edge of the realm, casting eerie shapes from memories long past, ghosts of laughter, whispers of anguish, and snatches of conversation that brought forth glimpses of our shared histories. "Why do I feel like we're walking through our own memories?" Livia whispered, distraught as emotions clashed against one another. "Because we are," I replied, realizing that the shadows were indeed piecing together fragments of our lives, moments sweet and bitter that shaped our being. With every step forward, memories unfurled around us like petals, each vibrant hue marking a story that had once breathed life into our souls. "Look!" Livia gasped, pointing toward an image forming in the air, a sunlit morning in our childhood home, colors glistening like gems spun from silver. There, in the middle, was a jovial Marcus, a beaming smile etched across his face. The vision shimmered, flirting with the edges of our reality that I felt pain clawing at my heart as warmth spread through me, a mix of love and loss crashing against the shores of my consciousness. What a contrast this vibrant memory offered against the stark shadows that taunted us. "He is still in there," I murmured, the weight of that thought resting heavily on my shoulders, yet just as our hearts warmed, the shadows surged back, mocking the light. "Yes, he was," a voice drawled from the dark, twisted and tainted. "But can you bear to pay the true cost of bringing him back?" "Shut up!" Livia spat, her voice fierce, reverberating with the strength of a tempest. We will restore him, no matter what it takes. Will you? The voice sneered, echoing eerily through the memories. Or will you become so entwined in your grief that you forget your own selves entirely? The swirling chaos thickened, memories morphing around us, moments shared, laughter echoed, tears shed. A sudden wave of uncertainty swept through me. Each glimpse tore at the fabric of our narrative, forcing me to confront the ache of sacrifice in ways I hadn't anticipated. We were not just trying to save Marcus, we were risking everything in the process. David, we can't lose ourselves, Livia pleaded, pulling me back, her fear cracking through the facade of our determination. I met her wide, pleading eyes and saw shadows lurking in their depths, the very doubt I had tried to push aside. We won't lose ourselves, I vowed, though uncertainty gnawed at the edges of my conviction. I pulled her close, the bond between us momentarily reinforcing my resolve. We will find a way, together. As we stood entwined, the shadows roared with laughter, guitars strumming thunderous chords that reverberated through the chamber. Those are brave words, yet so naive, it mocked. Every love story is woven with sacrifice, for sometimes, to save one, you must lose another. Suddenly, the shadows released a burst of anguished cries, tearing through the air as they shifted around us, revealing glimpses of darker memories, moments we had thought buried, snow on the grass as shadows gathered over a fragmented life, a mother's anguished cry, a brother's silent pleas. No. No more. I shouted, trying to shield Livia from the pain spilling forth. We won't give in. Yet as I immersed myself in the unfolding horror, I felt a cold truth cementing itself in the marrow of my being. Nobody is ever truly lost, the voice hissed, but the price of truth is often hidden in the heart of the beholder. What if Marcus is not the only one who needs to be found? The words hung in the air like a damning breath, breathless and dreadful. Fear clamped down on my chest like a vice, choking. Was there something deeper yet unresolved, an unfathomable truth lying in wait within this crepuscular realm? I turned to Livia, her face a mirror of confusion and turmoil, and I knew then that as we dared to probe these shadows, we would face a reckoning far beyond Marcus. The swirling memories seemed to pull us further in, their narratives demanding our attention, clamoring for acknowledgement. With each passing moment, I felt the tether to our own selves fraying, a gnawing unease creeping into the hollows of my soul. Livia, I whispered, feeling the ground beneath our feet tremble with a deep resonance. We have to be careful. I think we're on the cusp of learning something terrible about ourselves. And just as I spoke, a flicker of light ignited from the heart of the shadows. A figure stood before us, dimly outlined yet radiating a piercing clarity. My heart sank when I recognized her, my mother, her sad smile reflecting the memories I had thought buried forever. Forgive me, she whispered, a heavy sorrow laced into her words. There is so much to tell you. In that moment, the threads of reality unraveled before my eyes, leaving an unbearable chasm of uncertainty, truths yearning to be revealed and lies aching to be buried. The memories swirled more violently, the air thick with unspoken sacrifices, and I knew we had crossed a threshold from which there would be no turning back. As Livia and I stood rooted, the figure of my mother shimmered with an ethereal glow, suspended between the swirling memories and palpable shadows that encircled us. The soft cadence of her voice, though muffled by years of silence and sorrow, was now loud enough to pierce through the darkness that threatened to swallow us whole. Each word fell heavy like falling snow, gentle yet ache-laden, resonating deep within my chest. Forgive me, she repeated, the sorrow etched in her features unfolding like a tender petal. There is so much to tell you. In that moment, a cacophony of emotions surged within me, flashes of long-lost childhood warmth, a thousand unspoken tears, and the haunting weight of absence. A memory flickered a last glance, a whispered I love you before merciless time cast her away from my life and into the embrace of shadows. Mother! I rasped, desperation fraying my voice. Why are you here? What do you mean there's so much to tell? The shadows shivered around us, agitating the air, a pulse that synchronized with the frantic thrum of my heart. Livia's grip galvanized around my hand, her presence a soothing balm against the tumult. This is a trick, she murmured, doubt creeping into her tone as she studied the ghostly figure that was my mother. Yet I could see in her eyes the yearning echo of understanding. She, too, sensed the urgency lying beneath those words, the possibility of uncovering truths buried beneath the shards of our shared pain. "I have watched you both," my mother breathed, stepping forward, the shadows momentarily parting to allow her passage. "Watched as you searched for Marcus, as you faced your own demons." A soft wind swept through, cool against my heated skin. I wanted to scream, to shake loose the grief that tethered her silence to me, but her presence held me firm, anchoring every tangled thread of my past. "Why did you leave?" I choked out, the question surfacing from the depths of my being like a wounded creature longing for the balm of understanding. Her eyes, those haunting pools of familiarity, glimmered with both love and remorse. "My leaving was not a choice, David. It was a consequence, a sacrifice I never wished upon you." The flickering light around her intensified, illuminating fragments of our past, the empty space at the dinner table, the sorrowful conversations muffled behind closed doors. "You left," I whispered slowly, piecing together the unspoken history. "To protect us." She nodded, a single tear cascading down her translucent cheek, caught in the crossfire between the worlds of memory and the present. "There are layers to loss, my son. Not everything is what it appears to be. You must understand that sacrifices resonate through time. They can both heal and destroy." Livia tightened her grip around my hand as the shadows writhed in response to her words, their mocking laughter echoing faintly. I turned to her, a shared confusion mirrored in her eyes, but beneath it lay a flicker of hope. Could these revelations forge a path to understanding our own choices? "What do you mean?" Livia pressed, her voice steadied with a resolve I admired. "What sacrifice are you talking about?" Marcus was caught in the crosshairs of this tangled fate, my mother breathed, her gaze now sweeping toward the undulating shadows. "His return is entwined with the truth of our family. You must confront not just what he lost, but what it may cost you to save him." The breath escaped me, a soft release mingling with the rising tension in my chest. "What do you mean I have to confront it? What else is there to face?" A soft sigh fled her lips, a gust of sorrow twining through the air. "Unraveling truth is never without its weight. You will have to face the choices I made, the choices you both made. The past has its roots in the present. To retrieve him, you must first accept the hidden pieces of your own lives." As her words sank deeper, twining themselves within the fabric of my heart, the shadows began to writhe more violently, drawn to the emotions spilling forth. Livia's eyes, once filled with resolve, now shimmered with uncertainty. "David," she murmured, a tremor lacing her voice. "What if confronting those truths takes us somewhere we can't return from?" I sensed the truth behind her words. This journey could shatter us just as easily as it could forge a new beginning. Before I could respond, the shadows surged, and my mother's form flickered as though struggling to hold her shape against the tempest of darkness around us. "Yes," she whispered fiercely, locking her gaze on mine, "you both must choose what you will embrace in this journey. Each step forward may cost you pieces of your hearts, but sometimes, love demands the toughest of sacrifices." With a sudden rush of air, the vivid memories we had been surrounded by peeled back, unfurling layers of pain and undesired truths. I felt chaos coiling around us like barbed wire, and the shadows mocked our hesitation, eager to strip us of our resolve and leave us naught but remnants of who we once were. Just then, a new memory ignited from the shadows, bursting forth with an intensity that left no room for doubt. The image of Livia's sister, her face marred with grief, reflected against a backdrop of unsettled questions and broken promises. "No!" Livia gasped, the horror dawning upon her as the vision settled, and the weight of its truth crashed into us. "What happened to her?" I didn't know it all connects," my mother implored, her voice a fragile whisper amid the chaos. "A web of choices, sacrifices you both never fully understood. It's all leading back to what you must confront together to set Marcus free." Desperate, I wrapped my arm around Livia, pulling her close. The swirling memories encapsulated us, urging us forward, breakneck speed, but we remained. She turned to me, her features crumbling with raw emotion, and I realized then that the retribution we sought came at an irreconcilable cost both to ourselves and to the whispers of the past. "David, I don't know if I can face this," she admitted, vulnerability cleaving her resolve. "No matter what happens, we will face it together," I urged, hoping my voice could pierce through the shroud of turmoil encasing our hearts. "We can unravel this and find a way." Yet as the shadows thickened around us, an undercurrent of small flickers of light began to dance just beyond our reach, a promise of connection, of understanding, but also a portent of the sacrifices yet to come. Suddenly, my mother's voice echoed, haunting and mournful, "You'll need to choose, my dear son. Sometimes the path to love will lead you through the fires of sacrifice. Are you willing to carry that burden?" I exchanged a lingering glance with Livia, our resolve melding into something tangible as the final question hung in the air. But before we could respond, reality warped and shifted, an unseen hand tugging at the strings of fate, plunging us deeper into the chasm of aching uncertainty. As the shadows folded over us once more, I felt an ominous weight building in my chest, a truth poised to unravel, a revelation looming just over the dark horizon of our intertwined destinies. Would we find the strength to confront the past, or would we remain lost in the depths of our own grief? The threshold ahead shimmered, pulsing with unspeakable tension as we stood on the precipice of clarity, waiting for the choice that demanded to be made. And then, just as I feared all might consume us, memories burst forth, revealing something unfathomable that made my heart plummet, a face all too familiar among the shadows, one that shattered our fragile understanding and twisted the clarity we had sought. "David," Livia's whisper trembled as she froze beside me, her eyes wide with terror. "Look!" The shadows parted again, painting a clearer vision, one that set our hearts racing. Standing among the echoes of our past was the haunting image of my brother, not Marcus, but another sibling I had long thought lost. And as the dark whisper echoed in my mind, viscous and heavy with implications, I realized, this was no mere exploration of our love, it was an odyssey through layers of sacrifice woven into my very blood. The shadows engulfed us, their whispers now sharper, tinged with urgency. As my eyes met Livia's, understanding coalesced in the space beneath our hearts. The journey we embarked on had morphed into something infinitely more complex. This was not simply about Marcus, it was an exploration of family, sacrifice, and redemption hidden within the folds of our shared history. There, amidst the chaos, stood the figure of my brother, his expression steeped in agony and longing, the embodiment of choices made long before we even knew our paths would intertwine. "Why?" The word slipped from my lips, trembling with both disbelief and an unfathomable yearning. "Why are you here?" "David," he spoke, his voice infused with a depth of sorrow I recognized too well. The air thickened between us, the gravity of unasked questions and unspoken grief building a chasm that felt insurmountable. "This was my fault. I should have protected you, but the choices made that's where it all began." I felt the weight of his words settle within me, echoing years of guilt that had been often brushed aside. I had long accepted my mother's absence, believing it was a singular tragedy. Little did I know the roots of our family's pain grew wide and deep, unfurling across time. "What do you mean?" Livia's voice quivered, yet a firm resolve glinted in her expression. She would not flinch back from this confrontation, not when our families were intertwined in ways we had yet to understand. "It's all connected," my brother said, turning his sorrowful gaze to Livia. "My disappearance, Marcus's fate, the sacrifices we made, it has to do with the legacy of our family. The shadows you see, they are drawn to the unfulfilled debts of our history. The memories that haunt us are not ours alone, they bind us to one another. The moment held us captive, intertwining our destinies as the shadows circled closer, drowning out our comprehension. Then we must break the cycle," Livia declared, her voice growing more resolute. "We have to find Marcus. We can't let these shadows consume our lives. We will not be prisoners of the past." I felt a whirlwind of gratitude for her resolve. She had begun to embrace the burden of love I carried. "But to save one, you must lose another," my brother whispered, the foreboding weight of his words hanging like an unshakable truth. "What will you sacrifice?" The darkness surged again, inundating our surroundings with echoes of lost memories thrumming like a haunting symphony against the walls of despair. Each pulse sparked fleeting flashes of laughter and warmth mingled with unimaginable sorrow, testing the very limits of our resilience. I met Livia's eyes, and at that moment, we stood not just as two individuals entangled in the past, but as one fighting against the tides of our shared history. "Whatever it is, we will face it together," I said, summoning every ounce of fortitude to steady the tremor that lingered through my resolve. "We cannot let the shadows choose for us." As Livia nodded, steeling herself for the shadows curling closer, I felt our shared determination pulse in tandem, a heartbeat resonating against the threads that bound our souls. Then another ripple traveled through our surroundings, a momentous shift, revealing more of the haunting tableau obscured amidst the mist. The shadows drew back, offering glimpses of Marcus, another flicker of warmth amid the darkness. Yet something darker loomed, a presence clawing at the edges of our perception with a claw of twisted sorrow. That he became a specter caught between realms, and I feared if we confronted him, we too might fall victim to those same dark whispers. But destiny hung in the balance, love that beckoned us forward, illuminated by the hope that had guided my life until now. "Marcus!" I called, my voice steadying, belying the storm within. I felt compelled by an unseen force urging me closer. "We are here to find you." As my call echoed, the shadows shivered, and time felt suspended, each second thick with longing and heartache. "You must tread carefully, dear brother," my sibling's voice broke through, warning me even as his expression turned ever more disconsolate. "For every step taken toward love carries with it the weight of sacrifice." The realization crashed over me like a wave, a flood of urgency. This was a truth I had skirted for too long, a truth I feared, yet, rather than retreating, I stepped forward, hand entwined with Livia's, willing to confront the knowledge that lay ahead. "David." "Livia." Marcus's voice rippled through the shadows, igniting a warmth within that chased the darkness. "You must remember the heart. Trust that love transcends sacrifice." And with that declaration echoing around us, light pierced through the shadows, illuminating lines of connection between us, a radiant web of bonds more vivid than the darkest night. But with every flicker of hope, the shadows heaved, pulling with desperate intent, threatening to engulf everything once more. Yet I understood amid the chaos, love did not merely encompass joy or relief, it also shaped sacrifice into a path we needed to tread if we wished to reclaim what was lost. The weight of this truth settled deeply within my chest, and as I glanced at Livia, I could see it mirrored in her heart. Our love demanded action, commitment, a willingness to embrace whatever may yet be etched into our fates. "Together," I whispered, and she tightened her grip. "We will face it all together." Uncertainty still loomed, but solidarity surged, the unwavering resolve of two hearts willing to traverse the abyss for the sake of love. And as we inched closer toward the dazzling light, I knew then that the act of embracing the shadows would not simply bring us closer to Marcus, it would reveal not just our sacrifices but the power of love that lay nestled among our binding threads. "Let us go," I urged as the world shimmered with possibility, and with every step forward, the shadows receded, retreating into the recesses of time. Together, we ventured into the unknown as love breathed life into our fight, for in it lay the ultimate truth. We could face the darkness, not just for Marcus but for ourselves, entwining our threads into a tapestry woven through love and acceptance. The journey ahead promised uncertainty, yet with our hearts intertwined, we would find the light waiting patiently at the edge of the shadows. And as we moved forward, I felt an awakening, a rush of understanding that enveloped my very being, just as the final remnants of darkness gave way, illuminating the truth that had laid buried under years of grief. Love is not a mere whisper in the shadows, it is a blazing fire, a beacon, demanding we rise and embrace the very essence of our existence. David. Livia's voice rang with clarity, resonating within me as we stepped forth into the odyssey we had unknowingly chosen. "I never want to let go of this." "No, my love, we never will," I vowed, and together we faced the horizon where love awaited, illuminated in the shared sacrifice woven by our souls, seeking not just to rescue the lost but to reclaim our own hearts along the way. For in the depths of sacrifice lies a powerful revelation: we are defined not just by what we have lost but by how fiercely we choose to love. And as I held her hand tight, I knew in that moment of irrefutable certainty whatever the cost, love would lead us home.